Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to do these.
You know, today we're tackling something
Okay.
I think pretty much everyone listening can relate to at least a little bit. Anxiety.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at it through a lens
Ah,
that may surprise some folks. The Bible.
interesting.
We've got a collection of verses here.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what kind of wisdom we find.
Yeah. It is pretty fascinating
Yeah.
how these old texts really still have things to say about anxiety.
Yeah, it's amazing
So
how
here-
fundamental human emotions
Yeah.
kind of transcend time and culture, right?
In itself.
Like we're all still dealing with the same worries and fears
Absolutely.
as folks from centuries ago.
Makes you think
It really does.
about the human experience.
Something that really jumped out at me going through these verses
Okay.
was the connection between anxiety
Yeah.
and something I hadn't thought of before. Envy.
Oh, interesting.
Like Psalm 37.1,
Mhm.
it says, "Don't worry about the wicked or envy those who do wrong."
Right.
I know envy is not exactly a positive emotion,
Yeah.
but I'd never really connected it to anxiety before.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And modern psychology even kind of backs that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we focus on other people's successes,
Mm-hmm.
like what they have
Yeah.
or what they've accomplished,
Yeah.
it can really mess with how we see ourselves.
Right.
Makes us feel inadequate or just not satisfied.
Interesting.
And that can totally lead to anxiety.
I guess it's like we're always measuring ourselves against other people
Yeah.
and coming up short.
Exactly.
That whole keeping up with the Joneses thing.
It is.
But it's not just our neighbors anymore.
No.
Everybody on social media
Exactly.
showing off these perfect lives.
Right, and all that comparison, that
Yeah.
can really make you anxious.
Absolutely.
Like you start thinking you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be more successful, more attractive,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
More.
To be happy. Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is.
It's like it's a race you can't win.
Totally. And it can really lead to
Yeah.
discontentment.
Big time.
It makes me think of another verse,
Right.
Proverbs 12.25.
Mhm.
It says, "Worry weighs a person down. An encouraging word cheers a person up."
Right.
And it really highlights how our thoughts, especially those based on envy and comparison,
Yeah.
they can really have a big impact on how we feel.
You know, I've definitely felt that.
Really?
Like the physical weight of anxiety,
Yeah.
the tight chest racing thoughts,
Oh, yeah.
can't sleep,
Mm-hmm.
like it takes over your mind and body.
It does.
Is that what that proverb's getting at?
I think so.
Like mind-body connection?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's amazing how this ancient text
Yeah.
is talking about what we now call the mind-body connection, like all that worry and stress.
Right.
It releases hormones like cortisol,
Oh, wow.
and that can cause
Interesting.
all sorts of physical symptoms.
So it's not just all in our heads.
No, it really does
Yeah.
manifest in our bodies.
So if we're stuck in this cycle of envy and comparison
Mm-hmm.
and worry,
Yeah.
is there a way out?
There really might be. A
Think
lot
about-
of these verses point to things people still do today
Interesting.
to deal with anxiety.
Like what?
Well, take Philippians 4.6-7, for example.
Okay.
It says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God.
Mm-hmm.
And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus."
Okay.
So, whatever you believe personally.
Right.
This verse basically says two things
Oh, okay.
that can really help with anxiety: prayer and gratitude.
But how does prayer help with anxiety?
Well, think of it like mindfulness
Okay.
or meditation.
Mm-hmm.
When you pray, you're focusing on something outside yourself,
Right.
something bigger than your worries.
Yeah.
You quiet your mind
Mm.
and connect with peace and stillness,
I can see how that could be helpful.
taking a step back
Mm.
from all that mental noise.
And what about gratitude?
Well, with gratitude,
Mm.
you shift your perspective.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on what's stressing you out,
Right.
you focus on what you're thankful for
Interesting.
and appreciating the good things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It can really change your mood and outlook.
So you choose to focus on the positives,
Yes,
not the negatives.
exactly.
But isn't it hard to be grateful
It can be.
when you're anxious,
Definitely.
when you got all these worries?
Mm.
How do you even find things to be thankful for?
It's like a muscle you have to train.
Okay.
The more you practice being grateful,
Right.
the easier it gets.
Even when things are tough?
Exactly.
So it's about making it a habit
Mm-hmm.
to notice the good things.
Yes, even the little things.
Okay.
Let that appreciation sink in.
So it all comes back to shifting your focus,
It does.
like with prayer,
Exactly.
training our minds to think about the positive.
Yes, instead of the negative.
And that's something anyone can do,
Absolutely.
whether they're religious or not.
It is.
There's another verse here
Okay.
that seems to be about finding peace by shifting your focus to
Right.
Isaiah 26.3.
Mm-hmm.
You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you.
Right.
So it seems like the key to peace
Mm-hmm.
is finding something bigger than ourselves to trust in.
Like an anchor for your mind,
Yeah.
something to hold on to.
Even our anxiety hits.
Exactly.
So we need to find that anchor.
Yes.
That sense of grounding and stability.
And it can be different for everyone.
Yeah.
Faith in something bigger than yourself.
Right.
Trust in other people.
Mm-hmm.
Belief in yourself.
So we've got to find what works for us.
Exactly.
And it's an ongoing process, right?
It is.
I mean, there will be times
Oh, yeah.
when anxiety flares up
For sure.
and those fears and worries feel overwhelming.
Yep.
But the more we do those things,
Yeah.
the prayer, the gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
the trust,
The better we'll be able to deal with it.
I'm starting to see how these verses,
Yeah.
even though they are from a religious perspective,
Mhm.
they're helpful for anyone struggling with anxiety.
I think so.
Like, they're about things all humans deal with.
Right.
Fear, worry, looking for peace.
Definitely.
It's one verse I always find really powerful,
Which one?
even though it's so simple.
Right.
Psalm 46.10,
Mm-hmm.
be still and know that I am God.
It really makes you think.
It does.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get swept up in the chaos
Oh, yeah.
of our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
to feel like we always need to be doing something,
Got to be busy.
striving,
Achieving.
achieving.
Yeah.
But this verse,
Yeah.
it's like a reminder to just pause.
To breathe.
Yeah.
Just be. It's about stillness.
Hmm.
Surrendering to the present moment.
Right.
Letting go of control.
And in that surrender,
Yeah.
we find peace
We do.
that we can't find when we're always striving.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive, though,
I know.
doesn't it?
It does.
Like when you're anxious,
Mm-hmm.
your instinct is to do something,
To fix it.
make it go away.
Exactly.
But maybe the key is to just sit with it,
Maybe.
to accept those feelings
To be present with them.
without judgment,
Yeah.
and find stillness in the middle of all the chaos.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
It takes time
Mm-hmm.
and patience.
But the rewards could be huge.
They could.
So we've talked about envy and comparison,
Right.
but fear is a big part of anxiety too.
It is.
Do these verses have anything to say about fear?
They do.
Yeah.
And that's a great transition
Okay.
to our next section.
Okay.
We'll look at some verses
Mm.
that talk about fear
Yep.
and how we can find courage.
I'm interested to hear that.
I think it'll be helpful.
I think so too.
We all have fears that hold us back
Yeah.
in different ways. So it'll be interesting to see what wisdom Yeah. these verses have to offer.
I can't wait.
Me neither. You know, when we talk about fear,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to remember
Okay.
that not all fear is bad.
That's true.
In fact,
Yeah.
fear can really protect us.
Okay.
Like it warns us about danger,
Right.
helps us stay safe.
It's like a gut feeling
Yeah.
telling you something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Or that feeling that makes you avoid a risky situation.
Yeah, like that
Oh.
kind of fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's rational.
Okay.
It has a purpose.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But then there's the other kind of fear.
All right.
The kind that's not rational, based on thoughts that aren't true,
Mhm.
or past traumas,
Okay.
or anxieties that just spiral out of control.
Right.
That's the kind of fear that can really stop us
Yeah.
from living our lives.
It can be paralyzing.
It can.
And I think that's the kind of fear
Mm-hmm.
these verses are talking about.
I think you're right.
The fear that's more about how we see danger
Yeah,
than actual danger.
exactly.
And one thing I've noticed in these verses
Okay.
is this idea of finding strength
Right.
and security
Mm-hmm.
in something bigger than ourselves.
Like when we're afraid,
Yeah.
we remember that we're not alone,
Mm.
that there's something out there we can rely on.
It's like Psalm 27.1.
All right.
The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?
It's like finding safety in faith,
Right.
using it to shield yourself from fear.
Even if you look at it from a non-religious perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it's about finding sources of strength and support.
In your life.
Faith, loved ones, community, even your own inner strength.
Exactly.
It's about that feeling of connection,
Right.
of being supported.
Even when things are scary,
Yeah.
that feeling can really empower you.
Okay.
It helps you face your fears.
Because you know you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
There's another verse that speaks to that.
Yeah.
Right. Isaiah 41:10.
Mm-hmm.
So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand.
It's like a promise
Yeah.
of comfort and guidance.
Even in the darkest times,
Right.
you're not alone.
You're not.
It reminds me that we can choose courage,
We can.
even when we're afraid.
That's powerful.
Wait, are you saying courage isn't about not being afraid,
I am.
but about acting, even though you are afraid?
Yes. It's not about pretending you're not scared.
Right.
It's about knowing that fear is normal,
Right.
but it doesn't have to control you.
Interesting.
You can still move forward,
Even when you're afraid.
even when you're afraid.
Yeah, that really changes things.
It does.
It's like taking back your power,
Exactly.
realizing that you're not a victim of your fear.
Right.
You can choose how you react,
You have the power to choose.
and that choice,
Yeah.
that act of courage.
It's what helps us grow.
Right.
It pushes us out of our comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
helps us live more fully.
Like the hero's journey.
It is.
Facing the dragon, even when you're terrified,
Yeah.
because you know there's something better on the other side.
A classic story.
And it reminds us that we all have that courage inside us.
We do.
But I do think it's important to say
Okay.
that facing our fears
Mm-hmm.
can be really hard,
It can.
especially when those fears are really deep
Especially the...
or connected to things that happened in the past.
It's not always easy.
No, it's not as simple as just choosing to be brave.
And that's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
It's about knowing it's okay to be afraid, to let yourself feel those feelings without judgment.
And to ask for help when you need it.
Exactly.
From the people you love,
Yeah.
from professionals,
Mm-hmm.
from whoever can support you.
Absolutely.
We don't have to go through it alone.
We don't.
And asking for help
Yeah.
is brave. It's not weak.
It's one of the bravest things you can do.
This conversation has really made me think
Oh, yeah.
about all the different ways fear shows up in my life.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It is from the small, everyday stuff
Mm-hmm.
to the big things
Right.
that can really hold me back.
But there's hope,
Yeah.
knowing there are things that can help,
Even those rooted in ancient texts.
like the Bible.
Exactly.
It's inspiring
It is.
to see how these old teachings can still help us today.
So what other anxieties or fears do these verses talk about?
Well, we talked about envy and comparison and fear of the unknown,
Right.
but there's one more thing I think is really relevant
Okay.
to our lives today.
Right.
The anxiety that comes from
Yeah.
the pressure to achieve,
Oh, yeah.
the feeling that we always need to be doing more.
I know that feeling.
I know the feeling.
That we're never enough.
It's exhausting.
It is.
We'll have to dive into that
We will.
in part 3 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Thinking about this pressure to achieve.
Yeah.
You know what really gets me?
What's that?
Is how much our world...
Values busyness
Right.
and productivity.
Like it's a badge of honor
Totally.
to be busy.
It's like we're constantly told we need to be doing more,
Yeah.
achieving more,
More.
striving for more.
And if you're not,
Yeah.
you're not enough.
Exactly.
It's a recipe for anxiety.
For sure.
You're always comparing yourself to other people.
And feeling like you're not measuring up.
Right.
And social media doesn't help.
Oh, absolutely not.
It just makes it worse.
So much worse.
Everyone's showing off their best selves.
Their highlight reels, making it seem like everyone's thriving.
But we're over here struggling.
Exactly.
It's all a facade, though.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Carefully curated.
But it's easy to get caught up in that comparison game
It is.
and start thinking your worth is tied to
Your productivity.
achievements.
How much stuff you have.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Total anxiety.
Burnout.
Feeling empty.
Yeah, because no matter how much you achieve,
There's always more.
always something else to chase.
Another goal.
Another milestone.
Never ending.
And never satisfying.
It's interesting, though.
What is?
These verses from the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
they seem to warn against this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in Proverbs 16:8.
Okay.
Yes. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without righteousness.
Interesting.
So it's saying true fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come from money or validation from others.
It's about living by your values.
Exactly.
Having a purpose.
That's deeper
It is.
than just wanting more stuff.
So we need to shift our focus
Right.
from what we don't have
Yeah.
to what really matters.
The things that bring joy and meaning.
Exactly.
It's like realizing
Yeah.
that we're already worthy.
Just as we are.
We don't have to earn it.
Our worth is inherent.
Makes me think of another verse.
Which one?
We talked about it before.
Okay.
Ecclesiastes 3.11.
Mm.
He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end.
Right.
It's about embracing the present moment,
Yeah.
finding beauty in the journey.
Instead of chasing some future goal.
It is about being present
And grateful.
and trusting that things will unfold.
As they should.
It sounds so easy,
Oh, right?
but it's so hard
It is.
to actually live that way,
We're so used to striving.
pushing ourselves.
Always reaching for more.
How do we break free,
From that mindset.
especially in a world,
That values all that.
the busyness, the achievement?
It takes practice.
Yep.
And awareness.
What do you mean?
Well, first you have to recognize those messages.
The ones that say we're not enough,
Yeah.
that we need to do more.
And then you have to challenge them.
So we have to question
Everything.
those societal expectations,
Mm.
the pressure we put on ourselves,
And
and
define success for ourselves.
not let other people define it for us.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between striving for our goals
Mm-hmm.
and being content.
Right. It's not about giving up on your dreams
What about pursuing them?
with a sense of peace
Not being driven by anxiety.
or fear of failure,
It's like finding that sweet spot.
where ambition and peace can coexist.
Yeah,
You can go after your passions.
without burning yourself out.
Exactly.
But it's a journey,
it is.
not the destination.
We'll always have times
Yeah,
when we get caught up in the striving.
when the anxiety comes back,
But the important thing,
is to notice it,
and bring ourselves back
to that place of peace.
in gratitude.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
I'm amazed by how these verses,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're from a religious text,
Right.
have so much to say
About anxiety,
and how to deal with it,
especially today.
with all the pressure and distractions.
It's like they knew
Yeah,
what we'd be dealing with.
it shows you how timeless this wisdom is.
It does.
And it reminds us
that we're not alone
people have been dealing with this,
for centuries
and there are things we can learn.
from those who came before us.
I'm feeling really hopeful.
Me too.
Like we've been given all these tools,
To help us with anxiety
yeah, to find peace
in the middle of chaos.
and to live more meaningful lives.
It's a journey,
It is.
but it's worth it.
Well, that was our deep dive
Into anxiety.
and the wisdom of the Bible.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope it gave you some things to think about.
And some encouragement.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been great.
Until next time,
Be well.
take care of yourselves.
And remember to find some stillness